I think we're ready to start. The recording started already, so just for the purpose of the recording, it's Friday, August 23rd. This is Kwaai Day number 56. Over to you, Myra.
All right. Let me see and share my screen. And Reza, why don't we start with updates?
Fantastic. Okay, so I said that August is going to be the month of anniversaries. Well, we celebrated in July the actual launching of Kwaai, but there were several sort of launches. So this is our Slack anniversary. It's like a Slackversary. And let me share my screen. I'm going to share just some statistics from Slack. Okay, so we have 600 members, but 500 of those higher than observers. So if you signed up and you're higher than observer, volunteer, advisor, partner, and so on, you get a Slack account. So you can see there are 500 Slack accounts. Not everyone's active. In fact, monthly active users, only 194. And but here's how, let's have a look how this is over the last 28 days, kind of flat, sort of increasing a bit. Let's go over the entire range of our Slack year, August 25th, all the way back in 2023. We're now August 23rd, and you can see the growth of activity in Slack. A real bump over there before the summer holidays, and then over the summer holidays, a lull. And we see actually a lull in the membership as well. And I think this is characteristic of having a largely academic membership. People that are affiliated with colleges and follow that sort of college cycle. I hadn't realized that. You know, I thought that it would be a different demographic, but that's what it emerges. And we should double down now that we see that from the data, from the analytics. We should double down on that. And in fact, it's no accident we started to figure that out early on, that our beta is going to be in academia. And so this is going to be important, and probably, you know, the first products generally available outputs of the personal assistant will be running in academia. Okay, so let's look over here. This is a noisy chart, the number of messages from members. You can't really glean a lot from that, and that's also another spiky chart of the number of files uploaded. Okay, so interesting thing is when you look at the channels, the sort of topics that we talk about here, sorted in order by the most messages posted. The alignment work group, who knew? Ryan, you're knocking it out of the park. So Ryan Stubbs, who runs the alignment work group, is just absolutely killing it here. Even more messages posted than the general channel. And so that's also very interesting. Now you're interested to know, okay, well, who are the rock stars? Here we go. Ryan, you're killing it. 725 messages posted in the last 30 days. Okay. And Brian, you're double the nearest competitor there. And then even more than me, you know, I'm doing this full time. And there's a lot of chatter going on. Nicole sends her apologies. She'll not be on the call today, but look at the activity. Nicole and Debbie and Robert and Myra and Sanu and Steve Vitka's in here as well, and Sam and Zachary and Ankita and Surati. Look, even if you're not listed here, we appreciate all your contributions. It's about volunteer organization. You're giving of your valuable time to this movement. We all feel the same nervousness about AI. Nervousness, no, more than nervousness. We feel that we need to do something about it. We need to change the arc of history. We need to change the course that AI is on and build an AI that's truly uplifting for humanity. And so we're focusing on personal AI. Just really excited. Suniti sent me the link. She said, hey, have a look at the analytics of Slack. It's really exciting. So Sunity is helping on working on the back office automation. This is a vitally important job. In fact, if you look at channels, back office automation is one of the leading channels that in terms of activity that's going on. And it's super important because as the organization grows, the logistics of keeping everyone engaged. Thank you so much, Myra, for your energy and your care for each of the messages that are coming in. Thanks so much, Debbie. Even though Debbie's not in our time zone at the moment, is not joining us for the weekly public calls, during the week, she's very active. Look at her posts on LinkedIn, and she's engaged. Part of keeping a movement moving, called a movement, it's not called a movement accidentally, it's not called a station, it's called a movement. We need to keep it moving, and so it needs to be vibrant. We are reaching out to other organizations, and we're bringing them into the fold. We're finding alliances, and we are focusing on a mission. Cam, your hand's raised.
Yeah, just real quick, I would love to see what the if you could change the filter from last 30 days to either last quarter or for year to date. Let's look at all time and just see where things are. Obviously, I'd expect general to be up at the top, but like, what are the core subject areas? Architecture, DevOps, marketing, past meeting.
DevOps had a fantastic spike as we were setting up, but it's actually reasonably quiet now. Marketing, very vibrant in the early days. Past meetings, that's where you go and find all the recordings, the links to the unlisted YouTube recordings and the playlists for all of those. It's a lot of material. In fact, if we count the material that's just up on YouTube, it's hundreds of hours of material. The organization has been extremely productive, and then there's an archive of all of our activity on YouTube, in our various note takers, but also the Google Drive that holds all the meeting recordings. Some of it is publicly available, like this meeting is publicly available. The work group meetings are behind a membership wall, the membership wall that many of the people who have Slack access can access. Introductions. This is the channel where new members come in and they post something about themselves. So that's also a good indicator of activity in the organization. Random, you see policy is quite active. And low down, the thing that we're actually building is over the life cycle of what we're doing is not very active. Well, it turns out the pAIOS is a very recent innovation. You can see a lot of activity was actually in the Pi architecture channel. This is where we were trying to figure out theoretically what it was going to be. And now if you look, our discussion is less about architecture and it's more about how to build it. Well, this is the same thing that happens in construction of a house. A lot of the activity is on the architecture, first of all. And then once the architecture is decided upon and fairly solidified, now you're breaking ground. You're on the work site and you are doing the building. And so it's natural that the conversation would switch. So if we now look at the previous 30 days, you can see pAIOS and pAssistant. pAssistant's up there, pAIOS is up here, and that's the natural flow of things. So we're an organization that's building stuff. Interesting.
And that channel was just created, right, Reza? It's in May of this year.
Yes, exactly. So an exciting amount of activity, and so that is a lead in to our guest speaker. Myra, why don't you introduce our guest speaker? I'm going to stop presenting. I've made our guest speaker, Greg, co-host.
Okay, so it's Greg Spektor, and he is going to talk to us about what he's really good at, which is product and project management. Greg, did you want to share your screen? Because I don't have it. Okay.
Yes, I would love to. Please bear with me while I, there we go. So much easier than Zoom.
Are you being sarcastic?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
I'm not. I actually, my client currently uses the Microsoft Office suite and Zoom.
Oh, I hate that.
I don't love it. I don't love it. But thank you all for being here and giving me this time. For those who don't know me, my name is Greg Spektor. I'm a process optimization professional and an Agile coach. If you want to find an actual picture of me, you can scan this QR code. It'll take you to my LinkedIn. Please, let's be friends. So without further ado, let's get started. So how do I advance the slide? Like this, I guess. So what is the goal of my presentation here today? What I'd like to do is solve some of the problems we've been having. Sorry, give me a second. I can't seem to, there we go. So what we want to do is we want to have a single prioritized list of potential features and functionality. We would also like to create a sense of clarity around what our priorities are. Also create a space for everybody for everybody's input without it becoming overwhelming and confusing and just noise in the background. Also, it's important in any project, especially something as distributed and large as this, to standardize our delivery process so that everyone has visibility into what's going on and, most importantly, manage the work. So when new members join the team, they should be able to select the highest value deliverables, of course, that align with their skill set and interests, assign it to themselves, complete it, and pass it to the next stage where the appropriate person will pick it up there. So let's, before I dive into my proposal, let's talk about the roles on the team. These are very general roles. I'm sure there's going to be teams with other additional roles, but these are the general roles. So we have designers. These are people who work with our product managers to do both the design for the user experience, known as UX, and user interface, UI. So UX, for those who aren't familiar, that's a design of how the product flows. So do we make a form a single page, or do we make it a wizard where every time we submit an answer to a question, we get another answer rather than all on one page? So that's UX, roughly speaking. UI is the way it looks, fonts, colors, graphics, that kind of thing. So these are the people who make our product beautiful and sensible. We also have product managers. These are a group of people who work with internal and external stakeholders to prioritize the work and set the vision, most importantly, for what we're building. Product managers, you'll find, collaborate with the largest number of people, both within and outside of the organization, as part of their daily work. Engineers, they make the product possible. If the project managers set the vision, if product managers set the vision, engineers have the critical responsibility of figuring out how to deliver on that vision. As they are closest to the work, it is their responsibility to figure out the most effective and efficient way to realize the product vision. Quality engineers, these people ensure that the product meets all of our requirements. These are requirements that are defined as part of the product vision and through the discussions that happen as we build these requirements. They use both automated and manual testing to ensure that what we deliver to our users meets the highest quality standards. So that's a quick introduction. Now, how do we chunk work? An epic in software development is a large, high-level user story that encompasses multiple related features or tasks. They're usually united logically. So in an e-commerce site, for example, we might have something like a credit card checkout, and then or payment checkout, and then we will have credit card, Apple Pay, Android Wallet, Bitcoin, PayPal, etc. So these epics will be united by some sort of logical system. So epics are large, but they can be further broken down into smaller, more manageable chunks. These chunks are oftentimes called user stories, and sometimes they're very simple and they're called subtasks. For those who have never really worked with this, you will find that user stories are often as well broken down further where it makes sense into subtasks. So user stories typically represent a significant business objective or large, epics often represent a large business objective or large functionality area that needs to be delivered over multiple iterations. In commercial applications, these are sprints. In our application, likely it will not be the best approach. We will probably follow something along the lines of kanban. So another important component is the product backlog. This is, to put simply, a list of everything that the team may or may not choose to do. These are ideas, these are tech debt, everything that we may want to consider at some point. And I say may because sometimes teams decide that certain things do not need to be delivered. There's a reason, and then we don't deliver on those things. So if you're looking at your screen, you'll see that there's a graphic, and this is a representation of the backlog. Oftentimes, teams size things to understand how long things will take to deliver and how much effort they will take. And what constitutes a backlog item or a product backlog item are user stories. These are bugs or defects, refactoring or tech debt, and anything that may be considered knowledge acquisition. Sometimes they call spikes. If you've never heard the term kanban, or even if you haven't, didn't know where it comes from two Japanese words, kan and ban, which roughly together mean signboard. So the advance of this concept is simply a board, and a board that looks roughly like this. So you will have a backlog, you have a column for ready, and you'll have a column for in development, ready for QA, in QA, ready for deployment, and done. The way teams organize this is completely up to them. So the backlog, again, collection of items that we may or may not choose to do. This list will roughly be prioritized with the highest priority items at the top. These items should be as complete as possible so that they can be picked up by the developer and completed without any impediments. If there are impediments, then it's not ready. Then it should not go into the ready column until somebody can pick it up and deliver it. If there is something else that needs to be done first, that should be moved into the ready, assuming that is ready, and the other items should stay in the backlog. Once development is complete, it is moved to ready for QA, then into QA as somebody who picked up that item to test, or QE, quality engineer, assigns it to themselves, puts it into in QA status, and if it passes, it moves for ready to deployment. If it doesn't pass, it bounces back to the engineers, and the engineers complete it, and then we go back and forth until that's done. Now, again, I want to reiterate, these are columns that I think would make sense for our application. But other organizations will have 3, ready, in process, and done. If you guys decide that that's the right thing to do, or if you feel like we need more columns, that's perfectly valid. This is just a starting point for our conversation. I'm sure we've all heard the old saying, garbage in, garbage out. This is no less true about building software and hardware than it is about anything else. So when it comes to writing requirements, our top priority should be to provide clear, complete, and prioritized, and most importantly, actionable list of requirements that align with the overall product vision to engineering. This is their input. This is where they're working from. A big part of providing engineering with high quality requirements is the discussion process that happens at the beginning around these requirements. In order to have productive discussions, requirements need to be expressed in a way that is clear to everybody. You shouldn't have to have a lot of domain knowledge, a lot of technical expertise. Everybody should be able to understand what is being asked. The industry standard for these requirements formats is to write them in a user story format. This format focuses on the outcome of the work, thus allowing both technical and non-technical people to participate equally in these discussions. In writing user stories, we express requirements that focus on the value we hope to deliver to the end users without suggesting technical solutions. So what we're doing here is we're stating the problem and the potential outcome. We are not recommending solutions. And the reason we're not recommending solutions is because this discussion usually starts with product owners and product managers. And product managers are not engineers. Engineers know the best solution because they're closest to the work. As I said earlier, they're the ones who should be deciding how we solve problems. Product speaks to both our stakeholders internally and externally, and pretty much anybody else whose input is valuable. So they are well versed in what the challenges are and what would be the desired outcome. So splitting up the responsibilities this way and not letting one person's work bleed into the others is a good way to have the best outcomes. So user stories are written in a 3-part format, and that format is title, description, and acceptance criteria. And the title, or the user story itself, also is written in a 3-part format. So the format is as follows. As a persona, I want to perform an action so that I can achieve an objective. If you're looking at your screen at the bottom, you'll see an example. As a patient, I want to log into my patient record so that I can confirm my appointment time. All user stories roughly follow this format. Now, there's also oftentimes in requirements a description, and this can include anything. Include a description of the user journey, use cases, any kind of general info, images, designs, collateral, anything. There might be more things, but this is generally what you should expect. And then there will be acceptance criteria. This is critical. These are conditions to validate the implementation of the user story. So these are tests, sort of, not tests in the technical sense, but they could, and we'll get to how, but they could lead to tests. But this describes how things should behave to know that you've done the work as an engineer. So let's drill down on that a little bit. Acceptance criteria is a list of pass-fail criteria that help us determine if a solution fulfills the requirements and delivers the previously agreed upon value. Including quality acceptance criteria can prevent engineers from getting sidetracked and going down rabbit holes, as well as delays in delivery through scope creep and gold plating. So if you've ever been in a situation where you've delivered some piece of software or functionality to a client or an end user, and they say, oh yeah, this is great. It would be wonderful if it also did this. Or I thought it was going to do the following. If you had well-written acceptance criteria that you had shown to that stakeholder, you very likely would have been able to avoid this conversation altogether. And if not, you would have been able to then walk them back and explain that this will be the next release if this is important to you. But in this release, this is what we're committing to delivering. It prevents also engineers from going down rabbit holes. So this is not just a good way to manage stakeholders, it's a good way to be more efficient and effective in delivery of our product. So acceptance criteria come in 2 main formats. On the left, you'll see is simply a bulleted list. And this is a perfectly valid form of acceptance criteria. This format works really well if the only people who are going to be consuming your acceptance criteria are human beings. And I'll explain what, as opposed to what, in a second. The second format takes it to a slightly higher level. This is called the Gherkin format. This format allows teams to automate testing. More on that in a second. So let's take a look at an example of a user story and the resulting acceptance criteria. As a customer, I want to search for products by name so that I can easily find the items I'm looking for. And here are the acceptance criteria. That was the user story. Here are the acceptance criteria. The search function should return results that exactly match the entered product name. The next item is the search function should also return results that partially match the entered product name. And the last item is the search results should be displayed in a clear and organized manner. Now notice, all of these are binary, pass or fail. None of these are subjective. It either worked and it happened, or it didn't. And that's all there is to it. There's nothing to discuss, nothing more to discuss. So comparing that to the Gherkin format, as a website user, I want to be able to recover the password to my account so that I can access my account in case I forget the password. That's the user story. Now, the Gherkin format is a little bit different. It gives you a scenario first. This is the scenario we're working on. forgot password. Then we have given. The user selects the forgot password option. Sorry, the user navigates to the login page when the user selects the forgot password option. You're allowed to use and. User enters a valid email to receive the password recovery link. And this is the result. Then the system sends a recovery link to the entered email. Now given again, the user receives the link via email when the user navigates through the link received in the email. Then the system enables the user to set a new password. These two are the examples of the two options. Again, I want to reiterate, it's perfectly valid to use either one. Now, the second one gives us an option for automating user acceptance testing. On the right, you will see that there is a graphic. This explains the meanings of given, when, then. So given is the initial state, when is an action, and then is the expected outcome. And you can layer this, as you saw in the previous example, with and. So BDD testing is an approach that allows another tool. So if you're familiar with the term Gherkin, it's those little pickles that are slightly sour. I think they're French, and they're really small. They're like 2-3 inches small, and they're delicious, very crunchy. If you've never had one, seek one out. The tool, one of many tools, but I think this is the leading one, is called Cucumber. This ingests the given, when, then format and creates automated tests. This also creates opportunities for collaboration and discussions and all the good stuff that happens. Why do we do this? So in reality, the 3 roles on development teams, even if they speak regularly, don't always align and often have competing priorities. The traditional approach to testing doesn't really connect the different perspectives of these 3 roles, and stakeholders communicate their requirements to the product owner, who then communicates them to the developers and testers, and then after that, developers translate the requirements into code, while the testers into test cases. It's a lengthy process, and there's a lot of opportunity for losing things in translation, which does occur. Instead, using Gherkin and BDD, the 3 roles come together to discuss and then turn their insights into documentation. And the use of a shared language is crucial to this process. It helps to create a common understanding of the issue at hand. Testers can then use BDD testing frameworks to create these test cases. So there's less room for things to go sideways. Now, here are the testing steps. But first, I want to open up with a quote. If you've read the Mythical Man Month, Fred Brooks' book, you might recognize this quote. The hardest single part of building a software system is deciding precisely what to build. And that is very true. So in this step, we use structured conversations that focus around real-world examples of the system from the user's perspective. These conversations grow our team's shared understanding of the needs of our users, of the rules that govern how the system should function, and of the scope of what needs to be done. It may also reveal gaps in our understanding where we need more information before we know what to do, before we proceed to actually building things. The scrutiny of a discovery session often reveals lower priority functionality that can be deferred from the scope of a user story, helping the team to work in smaller increments and improve their flow. Particularly helpful when you're building your MVP. If you're new to BDD, discovery is the right place to start. You won't get much joy from the other 2 practices until you've mastered discovery. So the first step is formulation. The second step is formulation. What it should do. As soon as we have identified at least one valuable example from our discovery session, we can now formulate each example as structured documentation. This gives us a quick way to confirm that we really do have a shared understanding of what to build. When we do this, we use a medium that can be read both by humans and computers, Gherkin format, so that we can get feedback from the whole team about our shared vision of what we're building. We'll be able to automate these examples to guide our development of the implementation. By writing this executable specification collaboratively, we establish a shared language for talking about the system. This helps us to use problem domain terminology all the way down into the code. And then the third step, this is automation, what it actually does. Now that we have our executable specifications, we can use it to guide our development of the implementation. Taking one example at a time, we automated by connecting it to the system as a test. Of course, the test fails because we have not built or implemented the behavior we are describing here. So this is probably the most confusing part. All of this happens before we're building any code. We are focusing first on the tests and the behaviors of the product. And we are implementing this test as a test of the test, because if it passes, then the test is no good, because the system shouldn't be able to pass something that we haven't implemented yet. So then if it fails, then we know that at least we're on the right track. So now we develop the code. The automated examples work like guide rails. They help us keep our development work on track. When we need to come back and maintain the system later, the automated examples will help us to understand what the system is currently doing and to make changes safely without unintentionally breaking anything that was already working. This rapid and repeatable feedback reduces the burden of manual regression testing, freeing people up to do more interesting and exciting and work that feeds our soul, like exploratory testing. Questions? By the way, this is my QR code. If you get it.
Thanks so much. That's fantastic, Greg. It's a good overview. Most of us take this for granted, or some of us take this for granted as common law within our industry, but it's good to have a refresher on there. I liked your reference to the old textbook, The Mythical Man Month, that had a picture of a mammoth on the front of the cover. I just went to my bookshelf thinking I had a copy of it here, but maybe I just dreamt it. But I know the cover. It had a mammoth on the cover, didn't it? And it was the Mythical Man.
It sure did, and right. Absolutely love that reference too. It's a must read for anybody in this business.
Fantastic. Greg, thanks so much. Look, lots of people have requested for the slides to be available. One way is simply to put a link, if you have it, into the chat here, and people can pick it up. The other way,
I'll send it to Myra. Maybe there's a place we can host it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. Okay, Myra. Well, why don't we take one or two? I got an idea. We should, in the after party, in the idea exchange, maybe we can dig deeper into this. Why don't we, Myra, you get us on track, and Greg, it would be great if you came to the idea exchange, and we can.
Greg, can you stop sharing? Thank you. And you're on mute, by the way, if you were saying something. Okay. Oh, I can't share, Reza.
You can't? Okay, that's really bizarre. Okay, well.
It says you're not allowed to share your screen.
Are you logged in as, well, in any case, let's fix that. Bizarre. Okay.
Now I can. Okay.
Okay, so if you'd get us back on track, that'd be great. Pin you. And while Myra is doing that, the next updates are coming from the work groups. Sam just messaged me saying that he has to step away, but his update about the pAIOS, a great amount of progress has happened this week. The steady progress with a big code addition from Robert Binning on the passkeys authentication. This is a key component for getting into the chatbot. And thanks so much, Robert, for giving us state-of-the-art authentication, not the lame old username and password. And so I think that signals the fact that we are developing a cutting-edge platform. And then Patricia, also thanks for fixing and finding issues with the Alembic, and for contributing to the pAIOS code. There are a few more members. We have a couple more members that are joining that expressed a desire to work on the back end on pAIOS, and so they're being onboarded by Sam. I like the rigor of every line of code. Every code contribution is a signed contribution. So there's a there is a chain of custody of the code, and it's great to have that right from the beginning. So any new code contributor has to go through a signing ceremony. It sounds really formal and ornate and decorous, but there's a signing ceremony where their key is signed, and they now become a trusted entity that can contribute code. Many other open source projects don't have that, and so you can't attest to the veracity or the trustworthiness of code that's been contributed. And so it's important for us to do this, especially if we are going to be custodians of personal information of our users. If that code base is going to be a custodian of the user's personal information. Okay, so that's Sam's update. And then Cyan, even though Cyan's listed here and Balaji's listed, I know Cyan sent me a message, said I won't be able to give an update, but Roy will give an update on what's going on with the Pi assistant. So why don't we, if Roy, if you're on board, if you're up, then if you can give us an update. Otherwise,
hello.
There we are. Roy's there.
Yes, welcome. Okay, I need to share my screen. Can you give me?
Yes, I will. There we go. Roy is a co-host now. Thank you. And
okay, hello. For this week, we have a very good progress with the pAIOS with the backend. Like we showed in the last meeting, last Thursday, we are now able to create a assistant for one collection for a assistant. We can retrieve the information and ingest the PDF in vector database. So far, Anna and me are close to finish all the tasks for backend, unless for one first person to test for developers. And the only thing that we have right now pending is the ability to delete the files. We are able to upload, but when user want to remove one file or change some files, we don't have this implemented yet. So we are working on that. That probably be finished today or tomorrow or Monday in the morning. I don't know, is working the integration with the front end. The front end was already done some weeks ago, but the endpoint was not finished. So right now, the endpoint that it's finished are being integrated for Emiliano. He's able right now to create assistance. He's working in the functionality to upload files. The deadline that we have for developers is the next Thursday. We are a little behind of this, maybe 4 or 5 days. So probably for the end of the next week, Friday, we have a good demo for to be tested for developers and share some bugs and finish to improve the application. Also, Robert is working in the OS, like you said, in the login for using passkey. Also, we have a good progress yesterday that it changed the embedding. We removed the OpenAI embedding, and we use a local embedding in order to remove the dependency for OpenAI. So far we are good. We need to say thank you to Emiliano and Anna that made a good progress this week.
Fantastic, Roy. Thanks so much. I'm going to be down in San Diego. Maybe some of you are going to come to the. I think maybe I know I'm meeting Eunice and maybe Roman as well, but it'd be great to have a face-to-face at some point, either at this time or a conference in the near future. But
yeah, me too. For this week, I think that Annie, Jesus, Roman, Cyan are going to be in the meeting with you, but Anna is in Canada, I am in Costa Rica, so probably it's more difficult for us to.
More difficult. Okay, we'll give you more notice next time. But thank you so much, and thanks to the Arcus team for providing your consistent support for the Kwaai movement, and this is just fantastic to see what's going on. Okay, thanks so much. I know we've got on the list here Ryan to give an update on alignment. I don't know if Ryan, I don't see Ryan in the list, so we'll skip that for this week. Although you can see on Slack, Ryan is one of the top contributors to activities within Kwaai. What we're going to do now, I've already given you the Slack analytics. I just want to give you more sort of update from the AI4 conference. There's a book that's now a few years old. Let me hold up a textbook. It's called Blitz Scaling. You might know this. This was a must-read at Real Networks. The executives all were told this is a must-read, and we all went out and got our copies. So this is the copy that I had. The author is Reid Hoffman. You know Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn, and the co-author was Chris Ye. And Chris Ye now runs a VC. He's a VC. Okay, so very, very sort of shocking title. It's the subtitle. So it's Blitzscaling, a lightning fast path to building massively valuable companies. And he gives all the case studies of all the massively valuable companies. Great. Look, that's not what Kwaai's up to, but this is the world that I lived in before Kwaai. So I had this copy. Then I met Chris Ye at the AI4 conference, and he then so I told him the story of Kwaai. He got very interested in that, and we had a good conversation. And then later on in the conference, he found me again and came over and talked more, and then said, "Hey, when are you leaving Vegas?" And we shared an Uber ride together, and then he gave me a signed copy of the book. And then so I've got a signed copy. So I said, well, actually, thank you so much. I already have a copy of the book. He said, no, but here's a signed copy. So there it is, signed. You can't see because I'm being stupid, and let me switch off the blaring. Okay, so I've got a signed copy. And then he said, well, I'd like to talk to you further about how we can participate in Kwaai and the whole personal AI movement. And I thought that's super exciting. And he said, well, you're in LA. I'm going to be in LA next week. Why don't we have breakfast? And he said, I'm dropping my daughter off, college starts, and dropping her off and then driving back north to the Bay Area. And I said, well, you'll be driving past my house. So why don't we have breakfast at my house? So yesterday morning, we had a lovely breakfast out on the deck. Then he comes in and he says, oh, you might want a copy of my book. Hold on, but I've got two already. So he walks in the third copy. So then I gave him a copy of the cookbook, which is the last book I had anything to do with. And so he appreciated it. It was him and his wife. And so I said, actually, can you sign a copy? So Doc, this is a copy for you from Chris Ye. So Doc, next time I see you, I owe you a copy, just in case you wanted to be in the business of building a lightning fast, valuable company.
I failed at that.
I'm the guy that's got 3 copies.
Oh my gosh! So I'm glad to get one, and I should put in a word for this. The last week of October, which is Monday is the 28th. That's VRM Day at the Computer History Museum in Mountain View. That's free. Come there. We have something kind of big planned there. And the next 3 days are IIW, Internet Identity Workshop. That's short link is iiworkshop.org. Yeah. That's always a very hot and good thing. Cheap as conferences go. It's an unconference. There are no keynotes and no speakers. It's all good. See Cam Gear is saying yay there. And yeah, it's a lot of great things have come out of IIW. It's all about development. And
post the links.
Greg, you can say
there are a lot of regulars here in Kwaai who will be there too.
Post the
Steve will
links
be there.
here
There are a
and
number of people.
on Slack as well. I think
so
everyone should join. Look, we're also thinking about maybe having a Kwaai summit that is around that time as well at the Computer History Museum. And maybe we'll do it on November 1st, which is the Friday. So that means that you'd be there for Project VRM, IIW, and then Kwaai Day, a Kwaai Summit on the November 1st. Not a lot of time to plan for it. I've called them up and got pricing for the event. I'm trying to get another similarly aligned organization to join us, and we'll maybe have a joint conference there. So that is AI 2030, the conference in Chicago that I attended at the beginning of the month. Richard Witt's organization might also be ready to partner there, and so there's a whole bunch of stuff. So maybe keep that. Richard, you're on the call. Thank you very much. That was just an idea that came to my head this week. Let's think about having a momentum, since everyone's going to be in town anyway.
Yeah, think fast. I got to buy airplane tickets. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you've heard it now. Block out that week. So it's the last week of October, ending November 1st, in the Bay Area. It's going to be the momentum will be there. Okay. So talking about conferences, I'm going to be down in San Diego next week. I posted in the general channel the IEEE conference that I'm attending. It's Sustain Tech. The tickets are really expensive to go to an IEEE conference. This is $1,400 a seat. However, thank you very much to Joe Suppers from SwissVault. He's got us complimentary tickets. So the code is there. If you want to go to San Diego, you're going on your own time, but you don't have to pay for the conference attendance. And so I'm going down there because it's also a good opportunity to hang with our partners at Arcus Nexus, who can just sort of hop across the border and come and meet with us. So going down there and taking some meetings with some VCs down there and some other partners. So that's next week in San Diego. Doc, we would like you to give us not now, but actually as a lightning talk, recount what went on at DWeb Camp. I think there's a couple of you that actually attended. I think did Michael Gross?
Michael was in the crowd.
Michael attended, you attended. So maybe between the two of you, you can give us a debriefing of
and Michael, you might remember who took the notes, because somebody she recorded it and she was going to take notes from that, but I don't remember who that was. Do you?
Yeah,
Probably
I don't.
Yeah.
There was a recap that we did at the CTA, which will also help flesh out some of the things that were discussed. So happy to help. But,
okay, great. Well,
cool.
Let's talk about that.
Okay. I think we've got a little bit of time for new member voices and for voices that have been sort of not heard for a while. I see Randall has been very active trying to make connections for Kwaai. Thank you so much, Randall. You've arranged some good meetings. You made some introductions, and you're trying to steer opportunities our way. That's great. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Glad to help out.
Okay. Hands up, anyone that's new. I see Roba is new. We haven't heard from you, and we'd love to hear from you and what brings you to Kwaai. And then our favorite Ted Cohen is also on the call. We'd love to hear what's new in your world as well. And John Lanak. Oh my word. John, we still need to get you as a guest speaker.
Because you named a lot of names, Reza. So,
I did.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hands up. I've called them all out.
Yeah. Hi.
It'll happen soon. I promise, Reza. It will happen.
Okay, good. Roba, you're up.
Yeah. Hi. I joined because I'm curious. So I received a LinkedIn message from one of the HR people asking me to join. I'm a software engineer at Intel. So I just wanted to join the meeting and learn more. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Roba. Roba, have you got Slack access? Did you join as an observer or as a volunteer?
No, I don't have Slack access yet. I just received like the message, I don't know, like last week maybe. So
okay.
This is my first interaction.
Fantastic. Okay, so Roba, go to the Kwaai.ai webpage and sign up, and then that'll put you in our funnel, and things will happen after that. And thanks so much, Myra, for looking after that, the admin, the community. Okay, so we've got, and I just want to give a shout out for Suniti, who was not well. And Suniti, you're recovered now, I hope, and you've been really instrumental in getting our back office automation going. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Reza. Yeah, I'm doing better. Okay,
great. So a big shout out for Richard Witt, who's just launched his organization, GliaNet. Now, Richard spoke a couple of weeks ago about Glia, or was it a week ago? Richard, why don't you just give us a quick update and tell us how the your inaugural meeting went?
Yeah, thank you, Reza. And I did speak last week, I believe, to the assembled community here. And yeah, and thanks to you, Reza, for showing up yesterday. It was at the initial meeting of the GliaNet Alliance. So there were 14 companies represented. Another 5 or 6 were listening in. And it is essentially, I call it a coalition of the willing in a non-Don Rumsfeldian sense, for those of you who remember back to the George W. Bush days. It is intended for for-profit companies who want to create a more ethical business model, informed in this case by fiduciary common law, going back hundreds of years, that doctors, lawyers, financial advisors, even librarians operate under. And my notion is in the 21st century, we all need some sort of a fiduciary on the web to represent our interests, protect our data, do the intent casting that Doc Searles has been so patiently and brilliantly representing over the years. So I've written a book about it, but more importantly to me, frankly, I wanted to actually make this a proof of concept, instantiated in real life companies in the market, mostly small tech startups. And a number of folks are here as part of this group, and I'm very happy. We had our first call yesterday. I think it went well. We're moving forward on drafting best practices and certifications, and potentially even creating a whole profession. Hey, Cam, yeah, good to see Cam here as always. Yeah, so thank you again, Reza, for showing up yesterday and participating. Looking forward to hopefully providing some updates to this community.
Fantastic. So Kwaai, of necessity, will have to be a signatory to the data fiduciary sort of agreement and accord that you're drafting. So we'd love to participate in what that agreement looks like. And yeah, if your personal AI is going to be truly empowering, then it's going to have access to all of your personal data, and we have to treat that very, very carefully.
Yeah, I call it the authentic Pi agent. So it actually authentically represents you, and it's a true agent because it is intended to be operating on your behalf, not the double agency that Bruce Schneier talks about.
Fantastic. Well, look, we're at time. We're at that time where we're going to move over to the after party and riff on the ideas that were raised in this call. If I don't speak to you again, have a fantastic rest of the week. Catch up with you next week. Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm going to be in San Diego, but otherwise, I'm available. Great. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for participating.